Welcome to Stories with Dice. This is the Dark Blue Sea, a Mutant Year Zero actual play podcast. If you're enjoying our actual plays, please subscribe to Stories with Dice so you'll never miss an episode. Don't forget to rate and review us. It really helps others discover the podcast. Follow us on social media to stay updated, share your thoughts, and join the conversation. You'll find the relevant links in the description of each episode.
It's episode 6. Welcome back, everyone. Go listen to our previous ones. There's no recap anymore. We did that at the beginning. No more. Hi. Nice to see you all back again. As always, I am joined by Marco, my faithful co-host.
Hello, playing Caspian, the faithful navigator.
I'm beginning to see the sort of like a theme going there, Marco.
No, I just stole from you, that's all.
No, okay, fair enough. We also have Douglas, we have Pete, and we have Chris.
Hello.
Right, we're back. We've got a few things to do. First things first, someone other than Marco, roll me a d6, -1. Let's see how many more of your fellow ARC colleagues you can kill off in this session.
What are they dying of, by the way?
So this is a mixture of, I suppose, with maybe there's been a couple of people who might have
Ate some bad shellfish.
Yeah, it could have been something like there is a little bit of dysentery kicking around. It's really bad at the moment. So that's another 5 people. I mean, that's 10 people over the last 2 sessions that have carked the people's arc. There is something seriously going wrong there. In fact,
it's winter, isn't it? It must be like the flu is going around or something.
Yeah, there's a virus or something going around, or a flu or something. Yeah, in fact, I think we just figured out what's going on in the arc. There is some kind of virus or something going around, which means that for this session, no one can make any rolls on any of the projects. Everyone is quite sick and ill, and
damn
so
you!
We're just gonna is that plays straight into sort of like I just wing this every day. But where we left off, we were going to have Caspian going to speak to his arch nemesis rival. How would you like to describe Rhett?
I don't know that Red even knows I exist.
Okay.
So I wouldn't call Red an arch anything. Red killed my friend many, many months ago, years ago, however long ago it was. And I also just know that Red is not a particularly nice person or a good person, slightly homicidal, and has designs on like taking over once the elder dies. So I just think Red is we no longer need Red now that we're shipwrecked. And since Rhett's power is waning, I feel like this might be a good time to dispose of the danger that is rugged Rhett.
So the rugged crew are currently sort of like hanging out on the top of the ship towards the back end of the ship. They've kind of taken over quite a large section of the upper edge of the boat, including the old funnel and the top 2 levels. So if I've got a map which I can share with you all.
By funnel, you mean the smokestack?
The smokestack, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So the smokestack, and just underneath the smokestack, these 2 sort of like lower levels below the smokestack, that's all the sort of like the area that the rugged crew have kind of like taken over. Yeah, it's they basically, the old ship probably at one point had 2 large staterooms or 2 stately large rooms that was quite well appointed with glass sort of towards the rear of the rooms, and there was a lot of fixed seating which has kind of remained to a degree. All the sort of like felt and plush leather have all cracked and ripped, but a lot of the crew hang out here. And when you kind of like come in to sort of like seek an audience with Rhett, he is currently sitting over a table speaking to Jenna and Frampton, both navigators. They seem to be having some kind of conversation. Their own forces are sort of like dotted around the place, and Felix is one of the fixers, and he's the one who's kind of like arranged for you to meet Rhett. And he kind of wanders in and he says, Rhett, it's Caspian. He wants a word. Rhett kind of looks over at you. She kind of looks at you with her sort of like pockmarked face. And says, yes. Come on in. What can I do for you?
What I have to say is probably better said in private.
They all kind of sort of laugh. That's all right.
No, really. You don't want other people to know what I am about to tell you. Unless you trust everyone here with knowledge that could change the balance of power here.
Okay. And so you have that kind of knowledge?
Let's just say I discovered something in the zone recently.
All right. You lot, clear out. No. NAFTA, you can stay. So can you, Jenna. Okay.
So how many people?
So there's you,
Yep.
Jenna, NAFTA, and Felix.
Are they all navigators?
2 navigators and a gearhead. And she says, all right, what have you got to say?
You trust these individuals to not
absolutely
take what I'm about to say and usurp your power?
Yeah. She looks at Jenna. Jenna says, hey, I don't want that kind of power. Don't look at me. She looks at NAFTA. NAFTA's kind of got this burned, scarred skin and says, yeah, don't care.
I look at Rhett and I say, no wonder your influence is waning.
She sort of gives you a weird look and says, what do you mean by that?
You make poor decisions.
Okay. Do you just come to sort of like criticize me, or are you just...
No. You know that small island that we're making into cropland? Well, there is a power source there from the old world, from the time before. And I believe it was once used as a weapon.
Really?
And anyone who wields this power will be unstoppable.
Really? What kind of power source is this?
Well, I'm not a gearhead, so I don't exactly know. I mean, I wasn't alive in the before times. We're talking the ancient world, technology beyond our comprehension.
She looks over at NAFTA, and NAFTA kind of like picks at sort of like some skin that seems to be flicking off of her chin. And she sort of like peels it off and then drops it. It seems like her skin is constantly sort of like peeling and just falling off.
Do I know? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Do I know, like, sort of what sort of mutant powers these people all have, or no?
So, Jenna, what do you know? So, Jenna, what is Jenna? I haven't actually got mutant power for Jenna, but let's give her one, shall we? All right, let's roll to see what they've got. So, Jenna has.
Sorry, I didn't mean to gum up the works.
That's all right. So, Jenna has the ability to spit acid.
Lovely.
NAFTA is a pyromancer. The ability to control fire. The other person that's there is Felix. And Felix, as far as you're aware, you have no idea. You've never seen Felix or anything.
Okay.
Yeah. She says, okay. NAFTA just looks and says, peeling more of his skin off. Says, okay. Whereabouts is this?
Well, I'll be happy to take you there.
I see. Make a manipulation roll for him.
Yeah, I'm really terrible at manipulation.
How well do they believe you?
I can roll that without having a skill in it, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
I take it you want to push that.
Yeah. Do I want to push it? If I push it, I can get a mutant point, right?
If you push it, you get a mutant point. If you get another failure, that is you down to 0 on your empathy, which means they're going to react extremely badly to you.
I'm going to throw caution to the wind. I'm pushing it.
Okay, let's see what happens. Okay.
I rolled a 5.
So your empathy goes down by 1.
Yes.
And basically, she sort of says to you, look, thanks for bringing me that information, but I mean, you don't really have anything that I can kind of give you. And I'll consider throwing you a bone or something maybe later on. But, I think you can safely consider yourself listened to, shall we say. Then she kind of looks at you and says, you seem familiar for some reason.
Wouldn't know why.
You ever come across each other before?
No.
Pretty sure we might have done. But you know what?
Look, if you don't want this power source, I'll take it to Elson's gang or maybe Anuman's gang. So fuck off, okay? Fuck off. See you later.
She says, yeah, you do that. Let's see what happens to you if you decide to tell anyone else.
Was that a threat? Are you threatening me?
It's a promise.
Homicidal.
Then she gets a little glint in her eye and says, I think that's what your friend thought. And she whistles, and a couple of the enforcers come out of the woodwork, and they basically escort you out of her chambers.
All right. So as they're escorting me out, I just lose my shit, and I just start screaming, "You're fucking dead! You fucking stupid, crazy bitch!"
Which makes you lose your empathy. Yeah, absolutely. You lose all big time. They end up basically, you make a massive fuss, and people sort of obviously who are passing by obviously can see you kind of like kicking off as a couple of the enforcers effectively throw you out on your ass.
Yes.
As you're shouting and swearing and screaming at them. Yeah. Okay. Cool. We'll jump over to Moss. Moss, you were going to go and see Anwin, correct?
Yes.
You wanted to kind of figure out if there was something going on there.
So my brilliant idea that I hatched up since last session.
Yes.
Is that I'm going to try and sort of bait her with the new island as being a great place to learn more of the ancestors. And I mean, the elder, sure, she's, not feeling great, but I'm sure, she's from that time and she'd feel great to, be amongst familiar things. You should take her over there.
Okay. Well, so Adwin and the rest of the lawkeepers are sort of towards the rear end of the ship. The two gangs between the lawkeepers and the other group, Rhett's gang, the rugged crew, are actually relatively close because they're both on the rear end of the ship. But the lawkeepers are towards the sort of center and back of the ship, whereas the others are sort of like towards the top part of the ship. They've got like a bunch of really nicely appointed sort of rooms which all interconnect. You get a very different sort of audience. You make your way down there. There isn't anyone to sort of like show you in. There are lots and lots of stacks of books and lots of stacks of paper. And there is also a bunch of artifacts which are all kind of like stored in boxes, be they plastic or glass. And there are about, there's 8 people sort of like milling around. You know her, and you also know that she has her underboss is Victon, which is as a young looking boy. There is also Astrina, who has this very large sort of like shaved red mohawk. There is Denova. She sort of like has this big white sort of netted dress that she wears everywhere that she found probably a year ago. And sort of it's got this big sort of hoofy sort of appearance to it. And then you've also got this gentleman who's called Denrick. He's one of the fixers that works with them. And he's this quite unnaturally handsome guy who's sitting at a table reading a book. She is kind of emaciated, and she looks at you as you kind of wander in, and she says, "Hello, Moss, how are you?"
Hi, thanks for taking the time. I hope I don't intrude.
No, please, come and have a seat. And she sort of like pours some tea for you that they found. It's weak and nasty, but it's tea.
Yeah, I start telling them sort of fairly at length about how we were, out scouting and the weather turned on us. And then we spent the night on that new island, and now we were thinking, as you know, of course, now we've started farming it and all. So yeah, that seemed such a happy little accident, really, that we stopped there for the night, because we slept there, and it's full of these little ancient people houses, and we were rooting around a bit in there, and it's really funny. They left their dead people in the houses or something. Anyway, we got a really, really good rest on that place, and I thought, I hope this isn't too forward, but it's such a quiet, wholesome, restful place. I was wondering if it might not be good for the elder, maybe it's going to remind her of the old times and jog her memory a bit, and if nothing else, then it's just going to be healing and restful to get some quiet sleep there.
She says, "That's very kind of you, Moss. That's really, really kind." She says, that seems like a really good plan. Maybe we should do that. She is resting, and I'm sure taking her to the island would be a really good plan. We probably want to sort of like construct something that we could take her there on, and it probably, she sort of like starts writing down a bunch of things on a book. She says, "Well, I guess we could do that. If we take that, carry that over," and she sort of like seems to be making some kind of marks in this book. And she says, "Oh, yes, okay. That seems like a good plan." And she continues to sort of like, write in the book. She says, "Well, we probably could get that. I'd probably give it sort of maybe 6 or 8 weeks. And then I think that'll probably be around about the right sort of time to move her."
If
would you like to help us?
if I could construct something, to carry her on, or something comfortable that's going to be good for transporting without giving her any jolts or something like that. Yeah, I'd be so happy to help.
He says, well, I mean, we'd love to take your help. Any help would be great. I mean, we don't really have anyone who has the same sort of like skills that you have, and you would make an excellent addition to our group of us. And she kind of like points to the others, and they were like all nodding sagely. But perhaps maybe perhaps some of your fellows, sort of people that are in your group. I don't know if you've kind of come up with a name yet for your group, but you seem to be out wandering around the land and actually coming back with some interesting information. And we'd be happy to invite all of you into it.
I'll run it by the guys. I'm sure. Yeah, that's.
I mean,
thank you so much.
Obviously, we'd share everything that we have with you. So if there's any knowledge or anything you'd like to have, then we could obviously share that with you too. I mean, because we wouldn't want you to just do it for nothing.
I mean, I was, thinking, obviously, we all have got so much love and everything from the elders. They've always been there for us when they still could, and that would be repaying them. But I'm not going to turn down your kindness. Thank you so much. That's lovely.
Just that's. I mean, it sounds like a good. I'm so happy. She says, perhaps. Well, yes, I think that seems like a good plan. She says, is there anything you particularly need or want, or your group needs or wants? I can help you with that.
Yeah, me personally, I'm a bit short of grub and water right now. I could really eat.
Oh, of course, that's not a problem. The same with your friends. Are they also short of food and grub and water?
I mean, who isn't, right? I don't mean to impose, but
she says,
wouldn't go amiss, I'm sure.
Not a problem. She says, don't know though. In fact, Dineric, do you think you'd be able to fix them up with some of that for our stores? He says, absolutely, that's not a problem. More than happy to do that. He says, well, did you want to go with Dineric, and Dineric can kind of sort you out?
Oh man, that's so cool. Thank you. It's really hard to go out exploring if you don't, have provisions with you.
She sort of like takes your hand and she says, that's all right. And she kind of pats your hand and she says, no, that's fine. It's really helpful for you to kind of do that. If there's anything else you think we can help you with, please,
and I sort of,
she leads you out.
And a couple of days ago, I even had to eat a rat because we didn't have anything,
She kind of looks at you sort of like that sounds horrible. Here. Denric will take you to the stores. And she kind of like, she literally hands you over to Denric. And Denric says, come on then, Moss. And says, follow me. And he kind of like takes you sort of like down the hallway, through a couple of other rooms, and takes you to a storeroom that has some stuff in it. It's not overly stocked, and kind of gives you 4 water and 4 grub.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Puts them in like a tray, sort of like box type thing, and says, here, you can take this to your to the rest of you and your colleagues.
Now we can go exploring again.
She says, well, if you find anything you want to bring to me, then let us know and we can put it in our collection.
Yeah, and I'll be by, to help build a litter or something for the elder. We'll take her over there, and she'll love it, I'm sure.
Yes, she's I mean, I tell you what, if you go out into the zone and you find any old world medication, obviously we'll pay handsomely for that, especially with everything that's happening here in the Ark. If you can find some kind of medicine or medicinal plants or anything like that, then obviously we'll be more than happy. We want to kind of make sure that we stop, like old Jay said, I mean, I can't believe he's gone, and it just like that, it just took him. So yeah, we need to stop that from happening. So if you could do that would be amazing. And he kind of like talks to you, but he's sort of like ushering you out of the room kind of thing, and sort of like sends you on your way with your grub and water.
Yeah, I'm thinking they're going to change their mind any second. I need to get out of here with all the food while it's still mine.
They don't seem to change their mind. Meanwhile, Cochrane and Roach, you are at your rooms that you've kind of like made your own.
New rooms, because the original rooms are no longer there.
No, that's kind of missing.
They were in the nose of the boat, unfortunately. We decided that.
So you've kind of, in fact, I'll tell you what, on the map of the boat, whereabouts is your room?
What are you thinking, Pete? What are you feeling? Front, middle, Upper, lower?
Upper near the front. In fact, there's probably just a makeshift sheet over the end of one of the cabins where it's exposed.
Oh, literally.
So probably a couple of cabins from where you were originally. You just haven't moved that far. It's just they're not there anymore. So
it's a bit drafty. But nice view if you move the tarp.
That's hilarious. Right. Okay. We'll say that yours is towards the front of the ship. Okay. Yes, you're hanging out, chewing out there. So anything particularly you want to do while they all go and get thrown out or get given grub?
You heard anything going on, Roach?
No, I'm a bit worried about the changing political dynamics on board, though.
Yeah, it seems like we go away and a bunch of stuff happens and then come back and someone's ended up dead. Especially with that whatever sickness is going on down in the lower deck.
Yeah. Yeah, if you hear anything, let us know.
Pete, can you make a strength roll?
It's one success.
Okay, cool. No reason. Carry on.
You heard what the boss has been up to? Like, I'm sure Elson's been useless as usual now that we're aground.
Yeah, they're trying to get their act together. Yeah, they're working on plenty of things. Too few resources, really, stretched too thinly, but we'll get there eventually.
So, where do you think we should go next on our next expedition? Because I've only been out of the ship a couple of times, but I'm sorry to get see what Caspian likes about going on these sort of like sailing expeditions. Not too huge a fan of wandering around on the land. It's all weird and hard, but like the sailing stuff is pretty good.
Yeah, I must admit I was getting to get the hang of the rigging and stuff, but I still prefer to be on the land myself.
Land's weird. I don't really like it. It doesn't move, and it's like it just goes on and on. It's like as far as the ocean, really. Who knows where it ends?
Okay.
Yeah, I think the more of the old technology we can find,
but technology's not much use unless you actually know what it is. You know, like it's all well and good. That's why Elson's lot are useless. They love their little doodads, but they don't have any knowledge on what the doodads actually do. That's why, whatchamacallit, you need the lore keepers and people like me and Victim.
Yeah. They could be working together, could be improved. I think one of the main problems is the power politics of the fixers in the past that managed to divide and conquer, basically.
Well, like the fixers and that were like very important, like when the boat was like sailing around and if they didn't do anything, it's just sink. Now we're on the ground. They're kind of less important nowadays because, there's not much to be like maintained anymore.
Well, while you're busy having a chat, Moss, you are making your way through the ship to take your food to Den. Caspian, you are sort of like, what do you plan to do once you've been thrown out?
I'm going to figure out a way to burn Red alive.
Okay.
I have petrol.
You do have petrol. Could you please make what kind of roll would I like to make? So could you please make me a scout roll?
I have one success.
Cool. Sort of like as you're sort of like starting to cool off, you realize that one thing that you sort of like failed to spot was that all the enforcers that were in the rugged crew were getting tooled up, or they were tooled up.
What do you mean?
And like they had weapons ready, and some of them had armor on and stuff.
As they were kicking me out, or when I arrived?
As they were kicking you out, you kind of like got over your angry spat, and then as you were sort of like hands in pockets walking away, you were kind of like, oh, wait a second.
Okay, so I'm gonna find Roach.
Okay, you make your way back to your den. As you meet Moss on the way in, she's got a bunch of food and water in a large box.
Guys, I think Rhett's gang is making a move. They're arming up.
Oh, crap.
Good for them.
Bad for us.
I don't see how this directly affects me in any way.
She's a homicidal maniac.
Yeah, but she doesn't want to kill me.
Yeah.
Last time I checked.
I mean, I just sort of had an invite to join Anwin's folks and bring you along if you wanted.
Did you see Victim while you were there?
I suppose I did.
Good. Yeah,
I would love that, but we need to warn her because Rhett is gunning to take over the Ark, which means he's going to eliminate the last remaining elder. and eliminate Anwin as well as Elson.
I mean, I just was hoping to get rid of them and wanted them to relocate to the islet so she wouldn't be in my way, but this makes it sound all different. I mean,
really?
Sure. Let's,
You sneaky little conniving moth.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess
I want to burn
this
Red
sounds
alive, so
urgent.
maybe the two of us can help each other out.
I get the feeling none of us want to live under the thumb of Rhett.
Yeah, I give you a very slow and totally non-creepy reptilian wink.
Nothing creepy about a reptilian winking at you.
No.
I'm guessing I'll better let Elson's gang know. If force is needed, he can get a few numbers together, maybe head it off. I don't know what you guys can do, but whatever you can do to head it off and stop it would probably be appreciated.
I want to use this petrol and burn that crazy psychopath dead.
Yeah, if you can get close enough.
Oh, I suppose if there's any sort of like validity to this, I'll go speak to Victor.
Okay, so the plans are so Roach is going to go and speak to Elson. Cochrane's going to go to speak to Victor at the Chronicler's gang den.
Yeah, wherever he is.
Caspian is going to...
Moss, do you want me to come with you to Anwin to warn her? And then we can go maybe see if we can take care of Rhett?
That sounds like a great plan.
Okay. So that means you, Douglas, Cochrane and Moss are all going to go to Anwin's. And then Roach is going to go to thingies. Okay.
I tell you to say hi to my buddy Chaos, who's with Elson.
Sure. Yeah.
And I'm carrying my jerry can of gasoline around.
That's fine. You carry on with your gasoline. All right. Okay. Well, Pete, you wander off to Elson's, which is sort of just above you. Actually, it's not. In fact, it's below you. Sorry, just below you. And you make your way into sort of like the guts of the ship. It's a sort of a mishmash of pipes and machinery, smells of grease and sort of like diesel. And there's always sort of like some noise happening. There's banging or clanging or there's sort of like scraping noises. And you make your way in to see Elson. Elson is pretty much covered in sort of like grease. You can see that he has this massive head compared to the size of his body, and his face and stuff is all pulled back into sort of like a grimace. And he always seems to have this sort of like continuous sort of like grin on his face. And he looks at you as you kind of approach and says, Roach, hi.
Hi, Elson. Got some news for you. Apparently, Rhett's gang, all their enforcers are tooled up. It looks like they might be making a move.
Really? That's interesting. He sort of like taps his head with his fingers, drums his head down. He goes, Slip out. This other person just like turns up out of nowhere, just like appears behind some like these broken sort of bits of metal and machinery. And there's this thin guy sort of wearing this jacket adorned with bits of scrap, and there's lots of sort of like wiring and things coming out of things. And he says, yeah, boss. And he says, get the lads tooled up. We might be onto something. Yes, boss. And he kind of like runs off, disappears to sort of figure out what he's going to do. He says, so you reckon this is happening now, Roach?
Yeah, one of our little group was just over there. Apparently they were all tooled up, armoured up, ready to make a move somewhere.
Let's see if we can give them a few minutes to sort some problems out themselves, and we'll arrive just in the nick of time, shall we?
Sounds like a good idea. Do you want me to go on ahead and maybe hold
you do
things
that?
up?
Sure.
See if we can get the timing right on this.
That seems like a plan. Why don't you go do that? He grabs your hand and sort of gives your hand a shake and says, I always could trust you, Roach. That's letting us know. We won't forget this.
Let's hope it all goes our way.
Well, then we definitely won't forget it. Go on. Scurry along.
Yeah, and I'll scuttle my way through the corridors, taking the quickest route I can to catch up with the others without alerting any of the rugged crew.
Did Caspian just start a war?
Potentially. So you...
Looks like it might have started without you.
So the rest of you...
Now everybody else knows it's about to start.
You make your way through the decks towards the rear of the ship. You're going to try and stay pretty much under the radar, or are you going to sort of like rush? What's
I think we should probably stay under the radar, as far away from Rhett's
You're
crew
carrying
as
that
possible.
jerry can. We totally should stay under the radar.
if anyone makes a sneak roll, that'd be great. Let's see how under the radar you stay.
That's not my best skill.
So Caspian has 1 success, I think.
It's fine.
Oh,
Just need one success from
you're
you.
sneaky, but I'm just.
Yeah, it looks like Moss failed.
I wasn't even really trying. So
Yeah,
Looks
I
like
don't think
everyone
so.
failed but me.
How about you? Feel free if you want to use this to. If you want to, Chris, you probably don't want to push this roll because you're going to end up hurting yourself before you even get anywhere.
Is there a way I can use this to my advantage? Like, distract attention from him by being extra obnoxious.
Yeah, I mean, you could do.
But Roach, you've got yourself a mutant point.
You have. Okay. You can. I mean, you can be really obvious. I mean, what do you want to do that's, you try and keep under the radar, but obviously it doesn't work for you. How is that? How are you going to do that, Moss?
I'm just bumping into everybody that we meet along the way and say something like, "Me, I'm gonna join Anwin's gang. I've been invited to join Anwin's gang. Yeah, I'm a lore keeper now. Look at me. You thought I was a knucklehead. I'm a lore keeper now."
Okay. Yeah, you make your way. People kind of like look at you weirdly, no more than they normally would. But yeah, you kind of make your way towards Anwin's place. As you get to Anwin's place, they kind of see you sort of like turn up and they're like, "Hi."
Sorry, we bring news. Caspian, he just heard something. Red skies, quick, we're in trouble.
don't worry about it, guys. Is Victim around?
Victim sort of says, "Oh, hi there."
Oh, hi, Victim. Caspian saw something he wants to tell you about.
Anwin and now the rest of the lawkeepers are looking at you.
Rhett's gang is armored up and they're making a move against the Ark, which means they're making a move against you and the Elder.
We've got to get the Elder out of here, don't we? Come on.
She's sort of like thinking about things. You can hear from sort of further on into the ship, you hear the sound of like doors being kicked and the sound of a growing murmur as people are moving through the ship towards where you are.
Anwin, why don't you tell your men to get their guns and fight?
You sort of look around and you can see most of them have got scrap knives and baseball bats and various melee weapons. One of them has a scrap pistol, but that is all they had in regards to as weapons.
We are so fun.
You pretty much make the calculation pretty quickly that superior firepower and numbers are on Brett's side. And when sort of says, all right, well, I don't see the point of fighting them because they're going to pretty much kick our ass. What we can do is slow them down. She looks at you, Caspian, and Moss. Could you do that?
The gasoline knife?
Who's? Scooter, can you help them? You see a couple of the enforcers kind of go, yeah, sure. One of them's got sort of like a scrap machete. The other one's got sort of chain sort of wrapped around a couple of fists. Yeah, we can kind of make a bit of a stand.
Is that a different Scooter from the one who's dead?
This is a different. Is this a Scooter from? Yes, it's a different Scooter from the one
who
who's dead.
got murdered.
Yes, it's not that one.
I asked about his funeral a while.
Yes, yeah, it's a different Scooter.
Cool. Just want to make sure he hadn't come back from dead. I was freaking out.
This is Scooter, and this is my brother Scooter. This is my other
pretty
brother
much
Scooter.
is how it is.
Yeah. So look,
It's just a good name.
If Rhett's men are moving through the ship and Rhett is not with them, that means that Rhett might be less guarded. And so if that is the case, Caspian will go after Rhett.
Okay. Are you going to tell them that, or are you going to just...
No.
Okay. Okay. What Cochrane? What's Cochrane going to do? You're going to take...
Well, I'm going to turn to Victim and be like, oh, what's your opinion on all this?
Victim
Because
says,
he's the only one he cares about over the Irewinds guys. He doesn't fuss about whatever.
Yeah, he's like, well, he kind of looks at the little scrap knife that he has. He's like, I'm not really sure if this is going to be any good.
And I pull out my scrap knife and I'm like, yeah, I'm not much better.
I mean, we could do. We can kind of make a stand here.
Like,
or
you could go to the boats.
Yeah,
They're just a couple of decks down.
all retreat to the island.
That's a good idea. Anwin says, well, that is true. She looks around and says, take what you can get, everyone. Take what you can get. And they all start grabbing up as much of the books and various other things that they can get. You can see that Denrick goes off to the stores to go and load up on some food. Okay, well, if we do that while you store them, that would be great.
Okay, sounds like a plan.
Okay, we'll see you on the island, victim.
Okay, he says thanks, and he kind of like goes about like trying to get as much of his things as he can together. They're sort of like they seem to be picking up a lot of the books and leaving the artifacts behind. Really,
These artifacts, are there any weapons?
They are the
among
lore
them?
keepers.
there are no weapons. They're just various things the people have managed to find over the years.
Okay, nothing,
Yeah.
no like machine guns or
Yeah.
bombs.
I think they might have
or
used that if they had one.
Yeah.
grenades or.
No, well, I think
there is a
someone
grenade.
there is a grenade.
But we
Who
don't
ha-
know anything about it.
Who has a grenade?
Who has the grenade?
Oh,
Is that right?
Cochrane gave it to
Cochrane,
the
yeah.
lore keepers, right?
Oh no, so they do have a grenade. Yeah, they've got a grenade. If you want to pick the grenade up, you have a grenade.
I will pick the grenade up.
These people
nicely
need to
with
pay-
petrol.
That grenade is going to go very nicely with a can of petrol. Yes,
Yeah, you're going to get duct tape the grenade to the petrol can and just throw it in our room.
that right there is diabolical. I love it. I'm going to now
Well,
find some.
No,
duct
we just
tape.
need duct tape.
Just, like reserve some of the petrol for your burning alive plan in case Rhett's not right there, which I don't think she'll be.
Okay.
We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
So, Pete, as you're kind of like coming through, you can see that there's a bunch of enforcers moving through the ship. They've got a mix of scrap rifles and scrap pistols. A couple of them also got sort of like, knives and stuff. And they're all tooled up, absolutely. They're being led by Nafta, who has a backpack on her back with a pipe coming from the backpack to a stick kind of thing, like a scrap pistol. But the scrap pistol seems to be connected to the back. And they seem to be
That's
the
not
ones
bad news.
heading towards the back of the ship. You're sort of like coming up behind them, as it were. Yeah. There are 12 of them.
Right. I've not seen anything like that backpack thing before. I scrutinise to see if there's anything leaking from it or if there's any clues as to what it might be.
Yeah, you got comprehend?
Just basic on my wits, but I'll give it a go.
One success. Very nice.
Nice. Yeah, you have seen her use this before, way back maybe about a year or so ago, when there was infestation after you landed at a port. It basically, with her ability, she's able to make the machine throw fire out of the scrap rifle, out of the scrap pistol.
That would be a very handy weapon to have for burning Red alive.
And so they're making their way through the ship. They're kicking in doors as they've kind of getting towards the lawkeeper section. They obviously know where they're going, but they're just, a lot of the doors have been shut and locked and stuff. So Moss, Caspian, and Cochrane, what are you going to do to stop these guys?
So my vision would be like the Home Alone contraption, like something that might like roll down a narrow corridor and, bowl them over and incinerate or something along those lines.
Yeah. I mean, the lawkeepers are on multiple levels, so you could potentially have something like that, which you could drop down sort of like a little runged staircase.
I was going to just go up to them and be like, oh, you look for the lawkeepers. They went and tied with Elson's gang, because then they'd go off and go Esther Elson's gang.
Okay. What's Caspian planning to do?
Caspian is going to make his way toward the smokestack and that opulent room where he met Rhett.
Okay. So she's going to basically ignore the enforcers coming and just go and do that. Okay.
Well, I'll shoot some enforcers if I see them. Fuck them.
Okay. So Moss, you kind of like sort of like set up an initial point of contact. You sort of like set up this thing. Can you make a jury rig roll for me, please?
Mm-hmm.
Jury rig, some kind of throwing down the stairs, hurting people object. Would you like to push that?
Crap. I very much want to push that.
Seems you had no successes. Okay. Excellent.
Yes.
One
Got a success. Excellent. You've created a sort of like I don't know. What have you created? Chris, what's Moss created?
Very good question. Because of the out of character, I'm totally not super tinkery. But yeah, I'm thinking very much like something to knock them off their feet, something, I don't know what you call these things.
Okay. I'll tell you what you can do.
Yes,
So
tell
you
me
find,
something.
yeah, you find like a couple of cylinders, sort of like really heavy metal cylinders, and you jury rig some line or some rope and some coils up to the ceiling so that as soon as someone comes up the stairs, they'll basically detach and they'll hit whoever's coming up the stairs, which means that they'll go back down the stairs and they'll probably get smashed in the face by essentially 2 large red cylinders that you found throughout the whole ship.
And anyone behind them would be knocked over like
knocked over as well.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. They'll fall down the stairs, essentially. So you're kind
now,
of
this
you
would
set
have
that
to be
up.
pressurized air, and they're going to ignite once they're hit with their fire.
Probably not.
Okay.
I mean, if you want them to be, I have no problem with that. If you want them to be pressurized,
That would add some fun to this. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. And then, Douglas, are you going to follow Caspian? Or is Cochrane going to follow Caspian, or are you going to split off when clearly you see that Caspian starts going up instead of towards?
Well, I'm wanting to distract the people who are heading towards the lawmakers. So if Caspian's not going that way, I'll split up from him.
Okay,
cool. So I want to speak to them and redirect them somewhere else.
Sure. Okay.
If I fail, I will probably be brutally murdered.
I mean, that could be what happens. Okay. Yeah. So Caspian, you kind of like make your way up the ship as opposed to towards the front of the ship where the enforcers are coming. Do you want to are you happy to kind of avoid them, or do you want to you happy to engage with any that you happen to come across?
As long as I'm not going to be overwhelmed or outnumbered. If I have the opportunity to shoot one, I will. Yes.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm carrying a jerry can in one hand, if I could use my rifle, because I think the rifle is...
Well, you could probably put the jerry can down, bring up the rifle, shoot, and then pick up the jerry can. That's not really a problem. Okay. And Roach, you're coming from behind. What's the plan for you?
I'm not seeing an easy way to get in front of them. I'll probably hang back and just follow them.
All right. Well, the first thing that happens is...
You're welcome, Ed.
That's all right. Cochrane, you basically make your way towards NAFTA and her group of enforcers, and they see you sort of in the way. They've been pushing people out of the way as well. But are you going to basically stand in the way? What are you going to do? How are you going to delay them?
I'm just going to be like, what's going on? You guys you guys looking for someone?
Get out the way, says NAFTA.
Okay. I'm just going to help you, but fine.
She basically moves past you, as does a whole heap of enforcers. And they kind of spread out as they go through the rear of the ship.
If you're looking for the Arwen and that, they've gone.
NAFTA turns around and says, "Where have they gone?"
Oh, do you want me to help you now?
She basically, you see she looks really angry.
Yeah.
And she kind of again, is picky. So she picks this particularly large piece of skin off her chin and throws it onto the floor. And as she does that, the scrap pistol that she's got in her hand starts to ignite slightly.
Okay.
Says,
Whoa.
Come on.
Someone came in and warned them that you guys were coming. We're getting all suited up. So they grabbed all their stuff and they went off down to Elson's to get safety with him, because they thought 2 of them together would be better defense.
She points the scrap pistol with the flame coming out the front towards you and says, "You best not be lying."
Hey, I'm just telling you what I know.
Well, we'll deal with that in a second. She turns around and she says to another one of them and says, "Right, you take the other half and go to Elson's. Tell me what you think." And so another half basically turn around and walk past you back the other way, coming towards you, Roach. Okay. As they kind of continue on, what are you going to do? Cochrane, are you going to just wait around, or are you going to follow the ones that are going? I'm going to follow them
unless they're go away.
No.
Then when they find the people not there, I'll just be like, yeah, I told you they weren't here.
Okay. Yeah, so you sort of follow them from behind, keeping them a step. Is Roach going to... What do you want to do? Do you want to follow the initial group of about 6 or 7 of them now? Or do you want to kind of go to the ones that are going where else?
Well, the ones they've turned around and have started heading to Elson's, I'm going to start moving back to try and stay ahead of them and figure out a plan while I'm on my way.
On your feet. Okay, that's fine. Well, so Cochrane, you see the others kind of making their way towards the rear of the ship, and they have to go up a set of staircases. These 2, basically, the front 2 head forward, and as they kind of get to the top, that's a terrible roll, they kind of set off your traps, Moss. 2 of them get 2 very large, heavy cylinders to the face, who then fall backwards. One of them's jaw has been dislocated. The other one doesn't seem to get up, with a very nasty-looking crush to the forehead. In which case, NAFTA screams at the top of her lungs. And then you see a blast of hot fire come up the stairwell. Anything you particularly want to do, Moss?
Get out of that blast's way.
Yep. Okay.
Scamper?
You make yourself scarce. You scamper off. Cochrane, you see the sort of this kind of like flame shoot out the front of the scrap pistol, and you hope that Moss got out of the way. As Caspian, you kind of make your way up the ship. You don't encounter any more of the enforcers, and you make your way to that large, opulent room where you saw Rhett. As you go towards the outer sets of the rooms, you can see Rhett is in there, along with two others, Frenton the Navigator and Jenna the Navigator. And they are both discussing something.
Is there the roof of this building? Is there a hole in it? Or the room that they're in? Is the roof like...
The roof is solid.
Solid, okay.
Yeah. The roof is solid. Above them is another set of rooms, and then you've got the smokestack above that.
Okay. And are they near windows or?
They're relatively close to the sort of left-hand side windows.
Are they intact?
For the most part, yeah, they're intact.
How far away am I from them?
Probably about 30 meters, maybe 20 meters. You're sort of like in an antechamber looking through into the sort of large chamber.
Do I know how to use this grenade?
Make a comprehend roll. You do indeed know how to use the grenade.
All right. I'm going to pull the pin and throw it in the room.